I'm Sam Potolicchio. It's great to be here. I want to talk about leadership today. And I want to talk about how you can be charismatic. And I want to do so through a love song to my students and what they've taught me about being charismatic and about leadership. I want to start with a quote. I'll tell you a secret, something they don't teach you in your temple. The gods envy us. They envy us because we're mortal, because any moment might be our last. Everything is more beautiful because we're doomed. You will never be lovelier than you are now. We will never be here again. Now, you might be thinking Brad Pitt, or at AUBG, you might be thinking Professor Trzynski here. And the first time, I should have read this probably in college. It's Homer, if you haven't figured it out by now. But the first time I was exposed to this quote was in this classroom. Okay, these are my 5th grade Latin students. And just to give you a sense of this class, I try to get my students to fall in love with language and to fall in love with storytelling. And as you can see here, it's a little bit of a chaotic classroom. So imagine a 10-year-old boy walking into my classroom and reading this quote and reciting this quote on top of that table. Okay? It was pretty profound for me. And I started to think about what charisma was after he said this quote. I'll tell you one thing. I think if 10-year-old kids taught Homer, we'd read it a little bit more. Fast forward a couple months, and I'm having a strategy session with 4 of my star basketball players before we play the Georgetown women's basketball team. These are kids who are only 12 years old. By the way, these are Shirley Temples. Don't get any ideas. Nothing besides Shirley Temples. We save the strong stuff for after the game. We have vanilla milkshakes after the game. Now, I'm sitting there, and I'm trying to tell them and map out the whole game strategy. This is who you're going to defend. This is the play we're going to run in the first minute. This is what you're going to do in this situation. And one of my players rolls his eyes at me. Says, Coach, chill, we got this. Calm down. Let's just enjoy our cherries and Shirley Temples. And I continue. I say, this is a very big game. We have a win streak that we need to protect. You're going to listen to what I say. And I get back to diagramming everything and dissecting everything. And then another one of my players says, Coach, when things break down, that's when I get magical. Another player says, when it gets chaotic, that's when we have the best shot to win. And finally, the 4th player says, look, I don't even really start trying until I don't know what's going to happen. And this conversation really made me think about what charisma is. And it made me think about uncertainty. We don't know what's going to happen in life. We overestimate how much we do know. Sometimes we pretend that the illusion is better than embracing uncertainty. The world is moving at such a fast pace. You have to adapt so quickly. Those that welcome uncertainty, that actually live for uncertainty, are going to perform a lot better. In this game, after we had our Shirley Temples, we were losing by 9 points. I called the kids into a huddle during a timeout, and I could see in their eyes the look that said to me, chill, we got this. Not only did I see that, but they were actually more alive knowing that things weren't going as planned. They relished it. To me, this was extraordinarily charismatic. When you live off the script, you become more alive. It's a lot more compelling to taste uncertainty than it is to pretend that you have all the answers, to live the questions. Second skill that makes up charisma, opposable mind. Okay? Now, what I mean by opposable mind, I think an F. Scott Fitzgerald quote sums this up the best. If you can keep 2 disagreeing ideas together simultaneously at the same time and still retain the ability to function, that's the sign of a first-rate intelligence. One of the things that you should do in life is to seek out and quest for disagreement and for difference. You should jolt your beliefs. You should confront data that disrupts your own opinions. This is a picture from the Balkan Youth Forum. I was in Serbia just about 10 days ago. And these students are from all over the Balkans. And one of the things that we tried to do at this conference was get people who passionately disagreed with each other together to talk in a civil way about imagining the future. So we made them confront things that they maybe wouldn't want to confront. The default situation of your brain should be uncertainty and disagreement, because this world is so complex, the stimuli that your brain is getting is going to be all jostled about. So why do we try to impose certainty on this default condition? We shouldn't. I teach at a Jesuit school, Georgetown University, and the Jesuits would always say, assume the good faith of others' arguments. Teach me your beliefs. And that's what you should do as a leader. You should want to know what the other person is thinking and how they're thinking it. John Glavin, who trains our most ambitious undergrads at Georgetown for scholarships like the Rhodes Scholarship and the Marshall Scholarship, tries to get his students to think in the round, to think complexly, to put themselves in the shoes of their adversaries. Now, how do you get this opposable mind? This is me abusing one of my students, okay? This is hitting him in the face. He's laughing because it's such a weak attempt. This is my friend Armen in Armenia, in Yerevan. And I'm hitting him in the face, jokingly. I already checked the statute of limitations. Nothing can happen to me. Because we couldn't get to the airport in time. You know why we couldn't get to the airport in time? Because when we were walking through the main streets of Yerevan, every single person wanted to talk to him. Because this is someone who every single second he gets, he tries to understand people's stories, people's beliefs, their opinions. The connectivity of this guy is stupefying. He puts something on his Facebook wall that I have a lecture in Yerevan, and hundreds of people show up. They trust him. And what's incredible about how he's decided to live his life, to treat every single person like they're an expert in something, the knowledge that he has now is incredible. You hang out with him for an hour, and he'll know about the ins and outs, the intricacies of so many different professions. Because he has this desire to know everything about everyone in a very civil way. And what do you think is more charismatic? Having limitless possibilities of knowledge, or having constrained, blinkered thinking? These are two pictures here. On the left, I'm right near Tito's birthplace. I'm having a meal with a Bosnian Serb and a Croatian. On the right, I'm in the downtown Belgrade. This is probably before I discovered Kafana and Rakia. Okay. I'm still standing, as you can see. And what's incredible, this was my first lecture tour to other countries that my former students had organized. I've now gone to 30 countries, and this was about a year and a half ago. In fact, my friend Milan, on the left, organized a tour where we started in Croatia, and we ended up all the way here in Bulgaria. And I taught in every single country in between. Being a global explorer, being exposed to as many different situations and circumstances and cultures and tastes and smells and histories as possible gives you an incredible leverage to understand the human condition, but to also know what you don't know, to know what you have to find out more about. And you have such an expansive understanding of what the world is like when you constantly seek it out. People can actually feel this charisma. This is me dancing the Georgian Dance. Okay? I have learned, and I put this slide because one of my good friends and former students is from the Republic of Georgia. I knew he'd be here today. I could have put it 29 different dances. And for your eyes, I didn't do that. I found out two things learning all these dances. First, I'm a terrible dancer. But second, I'm addicted to other people's lives, trying to inhabit them, trying to learn more about them. And my friends, when I come back from these visits to these other countries with my former students, will actually say, Sam, your voice has changed a little bit. It feels warmer. And this is something that I think really carries off to others. They know when you explore the human situation. and you become a lot more charismatic and compelling to them. This is a former basketball player of mine. If you can't read the caption, it talks about how he helped them, Harvard University, to their best season in school history. For the first time ever, they played in the NCAA tournament, which is a very big deal in the United States. And one of the only things I've ever been right about in my life was when this kid was 10 years old, I knew he'd be in this situation. Okay? He looked like this when I told him so. This is Christian as a 10-year-old. Don't worry, I got permission. He's not going to be embarrassed. He actually wanted me to put this slide up. I was expecting everyone to go, aw, but wait. At least the girls. Then I can tell them that they did that. Now, I was in Harvard Square eating a very big burrito. And I called him up with my mouth full, and I told him, one day, you're going to be at Harvard eating the same burrito before you go play one of your rival schools in basketball. And I don't think he really understood me, probably because my mouth was full with that very big burrito. But he honestly didn't think it would happen. And how did I know? He wasn't the best basketball player I've ever had. In fact, he was pretty small at this moment. You couldn't really predict this future if you just saw him play basketball, shoot his shots, and play defense. I knew because he played with an unbridled joy. You could see him out on the court, and there was complete focus. He was rapt, and it was almost glorious to watch, the energy that he had. Because not only does this joy and passion and rapt attention lead yourself to a personal renaissance, but it lifts everyone else that's around it with you. To love what you do is extraordinarily charismatic. So there's these three things that I've talked about. Embracing uncertainty, having an opposable mind, and having joy. To me, these are the three key elements, the trinity, so to speak, of charisma, something that we think we can't define. Now, let me take you back to my Latin class. When you have these three qualities, you construct a confidence. And I like to cite my favorite philosopher, Little Wayne, who says confidence is something you can't wipe off. It's part of you. You're cloaked in it when you have these three skills. And I remember one time, I'm not going to point out which one because it's a little bit embarrassing, but one of my students, before a public speaking competition, had a little bit of a wardrobe malfunction. And the zipper to his pants was completely down. And so before he got up into our auditorium to deliver this impassioned speech, I said to him, look, brother, your zipper is down right now. You might want to fix that before you go up there. And he turned to me and said, Mr. Potolicchio, I know it's down. I'm going to make it my style and rock this thing. And turned around and gave the best speech he's ever given in his life. Now, one of the reasons I tell this through the lens of my students and my former players is, one, sometimes they lift me closer to enlightenment, literally. But secondly, what I've seen traveling the world, what I've seen teaching 5th grade Latin, what I've seen coaching middle school basketball players has given me an enormous optimism for the future. Not just because they've demonstrated these three skills, but because they're authentic. They're authentic leaders. They really know themselves. They have this deep introspection before they try to go out and lead. Because you need to know the me before you connect with the we. And one of the things that's very important, when you do master the me, which is a lifelong process, and you are ready to connect with the we, and you want to be a leader, you need to practice the inconvenience of leadership, which is asking people to make sacrifices, telling people things they might not want to hear. That's being a leader. And if you have these three skills, you're going to be more prepared to be able to do that. And so, to answer the quote that I played from Brad Pitt, a.k.a. Professor Trzynski, why are the gods jealous of us? Why is the divine jealous of us? Well, to me, charisma, leadership, the jealousy of the divine is having the confidence to be human. Thank you.